Greetings to you all. Research Culture Society is a government-registered scientific research organization. Society is working for research community at the national and international level to impart quality and non-profitable services. Our members are scholarly educationists from various universities and institutes of repute. Here the faculties, research scholars and students interested in the area of research are given guidance and support in how their work can contribute to the betterment of our present and future generations. Research Culture Society is conducting programs on different themes. Society has organized nearly around 40 conferences, seminars, symposiums successfully at national and international level in association with different educational institutions and published selected research papers as journal special issues and book proceedings. Society is running international level referred, peer-reviewed journals with ISSN and books publication with ISBN. Educational institutions, colleges, universities are being welcomed for Memorandum of Understanding and collaboration to organize events. Society is promoting and sponsoring educational events as well as publishing research work in collaboration. Society also offers membership. The journals associated with Research Culture Society referred, indexed and with high impact factor. Health sciences, engineering, agriculture, pharmacy, commerce, management, social sciences, arts, humanities, education, law and life skills. And online with ISBN. It will also be a co-sponsor. Research Culture Society also provides print and online book publications with ISBN. Society invites book publication in all study subjects and categories, thesis converted into book and conference proceedings publication also available. We arrange special lectures on soft skills, communication skills, personality development, behavior improvement, human resource development, career development, general knowledge improvement, environmental issues and improvement etc. in different institutions, colleges, society.org. Thank you all.
This is our second day of our 5-day lecture program. I, Dr. M. Nagalakshmi, welcome you all for this wonderful session. Robert Coover's essay, The End of Books. So before that, I just want to say the disclaimer note. The pictorial, visual, audio, video material used here are taken from various websites purely for academic and research purposes of this program. There has been no intention of economic benefit out of it or to harm anyone or any community. There can be pictures, videos, slogans that may contain odd language or ideological implications. The participants are considered adult and academically open-minded for such realistic presentation. The views and opinions expressed in the program presentation are those of the authors, speakers, and do not represent the perspectives of any organization. Organizer and organizer society is not responsible in any case. After all, the material comes from real sources which are useful for the academic and knowledge sharing purposes only. Thank you. Happy learning. Okay, let's start. Let me start the session with the words of Robert Coover's essay, The End of Books. He published this essay in 1982. In the real world nowadays, that is to say, in the world of video transmissions, cellular phones, fax machines, computer networks, and in particular, out in the humming digitalized presence of avant-garde computer hackers. cyberpunks, and cyberspace freaks. You will often hear it said the print medium is doomed, an outdated technology. A mere curiosity of bygone days, destined soon to be consigned forever to those dusty, unattended museums. You know what? We now call libraries. Indeed, the very proliferation of books and other print-based media, so prevalent in this forest harvesting, paper wasting age, is held to be a sign of its feverish morbidity. The last futile gasp of one's vital form before it finally passes away forever. Robert Coover says that the digital literature put an end to the print literature because after digitalization, we can see the libraries are like museums. Digital literature, also known as electronic literature, is a term for work with important literary aspects that requires the use of digital computation. Such literature has been produced for more than 50 years. The first known example being Christopher Strachey's 1952 love letter generator for the Manchester Mark I computer that we have seen in yesterday's lecture, right? So electronic literature is considered to be a kind of literary discourse. So we can see in this electronic literature organization, we have always been digital, which is located in the internet space and organized on the principles of the internet. It is a kind of electronic literary discourse built on the principles of interactivity, multimedia, and hypertextuality. We can see here the electronic writing. There are different things: hypertext fiction, hypertext poetry, hypertext essay, interactive, narrative, flash fiction, adventure game. So many, right? It is an evolving literature. Works of electronic literature appeal to configurative reading practices. The field of electronic literature is based on a gift economy and developing a network-based literary culture built on the collaborative practices of a globally distributed community of artists, writers, and scholars. The process of reading any configurative or ergodic, hope you know the meaning of ergodic. Ergodic form of literature invites the reader to first explore the ludic, that is the spontaneous and undirected playfulness. Explore the spontaneous, undirected playfulness, challenges, and pleasures of operating and traversing the text in a hyper-attentive and experimental fashion before reading more deeply. Hales divided 20th century electronic literature into first generation and second generation, with the break coming around 1995. According to her, first generation classical works includes hypertext fiction. The later seems more contemporary or postmodern. What is that later? The second generation. I have given here the web links. So after the lecture, means after the 5 days program, when you get the PPT, you can browse these websites. The later seems more contemporary or postmodern. It becomes a diverse as a development multimedia repository. Some works were published as a CD-ROM book. I have given here as slides for the first and second generation works of electronic literature. So when you get the links, when you get the PPT, you can browse yourselves. So let's see the genres of electronic literature superficially. Why superficially? Because we will discuss elaborately in the coming classes. So, when you think about literature, definitely you will remember poetry, fiction as a major genre, right? So as electronic literature too. But it is one major thing we should understand or we should keep in mind when we start reading EL. What is that? How to read? Most of the works of EL are not static text. What is that static text? So we have been reading books, the print literature. In the book, the words are static. They can't move. Once printed, it's over. You can read as many times as you like. But the text remains the same. It never changes. But here, in electronic literature, this thing is different. So we must engage ourselves with the behavior of the text. Something different here, right? It's not that you have to, engage yourself with the book's character or the plot or the narrative. This is one thing that you have to involve yourself with the behavior of the text so that you can enjoy and understand the work. Okay? Let's see the video, how to read this EL.
Literature is evolving. It's no longer just on a paper page, but is appearing across computer screens, upon clicks, and in conjunction with other media like music. How then do we read these digital texts when they're so different from traditional ones? Most, though not all digital literature, still contains words and phrases to interpret. Use your analytical skills to examine the text, watching for important themes in literary devices like imagery and alliteration. The next thing to consider is graphics or other visual elements of the work. Question how backgrounds or images juxtaposed with the text influence the interpretation and may provide insight into how the author intended the work to be presented. Animation can reinforce or subvert what is going on in the text, making the user feel under pressure or overwhelmed, pay attention to certain words, or think about the impacts of time and the digital medium. Music can be as important to creating tone, impact, and meaning as text and graphics. Minor tones create feelings of sadness, and jazzy tunes can create a reading full of energy. Many pieces of digital literature experiment with user control. In some, the user simply watches what happens. In others, however, the user can interact with the elements of the work to make events occur, or even influence the outcome of the narrative. Readers should also consider how the text was created. Elements like code can reveal important design choices that, in turn, may influence how the text is interpreted. Reading the text again is your most important step. Take note of how all the elements work together, and watch how your initial reading of the text may be influenced by later parts. Think about how the text, graphics, animation, music, interaction, or lack thereof influences the interpretation of the text. The works used as examples in this video are only a small sample of the massive amount of electronic text proliferating on the internet. There's new ones every day. The many examples in this video, however, provide an excellent starting point for all your digital literature adventures. Don't forget to check them out.
So, as you have seen in the video, you might have understand why did I say that you have to engage yourself with the behavior of the text, right? So, the text in electronic literature are not static. So you have to involve yourself with the text so that you can enjoy electronic literature. So here, the genres, I can say a few words about the genres, and then we will discuss about the characteristics of electronic literature as we can see the genres in detail for tomorrow and day after tomorrow's classes. Hypertext fiction is a genre of electronic literature characterized by the use of hypertext links that provide a new context for non-linearity in literature and reader interaction. It is interesting and fun to click on the different links in the story and be able to participate and choose the next move to continue the story. We can understand from the slide what is hypertext, what is normal text. Normal text is linear. So you can read the books which we have in our hands. It is linear. If you don't know any particular word's meaning, you have to check your dictionary and you have to find out their meaning. Whereas in the hypertext literature, there are certain words they keep like hypertext. What is hypertext? When you click, you will get the mouse, the home page will be directed to another page. So you will get to know. The term hypertext is coined by Ted Nelson. Right? So that is the biggest difference between the print and the digital literature. So you will get to know from this what is hypertext. Hypertext is non-linear documents. By clicking on hotspots in the text, the reader is immediately transported to related material in the document. Content table-like views, such as the one at the left, are provided. Navigation in the document is by hotspots or overview mechanisms. That is what is called the hypertext. How is it used, hypertext, in electronic literature? We can see here various. So, when you see this particular thing in digital literature, it opens various aspects, various forms to collaborate with this digital literature. The next one, the next genre is e-poetry. You can see here there are various kinds of poetry that we can see tomorrow's lecture. I just want to say what is e-poetry in general. E-poetry, according to the official website created by a person, Leonardo Flores, he defined poetry that arises from an engagement with the possibilities offered by digital media. It is also known as electronic poetry. That is, e-poetry is also known as electronic poetry. Or you can say digital poetry. Essentially, it is a poetic genre of electronic literature created by the mediums of online data, algorithms, coding, frequencies, photos, and other electronic platforms that can produce words, movements, and art for the public. So, when you see the definition of poetry, electronic poetry is entirely different from the poetry. The definition, the ancient definition of poetry from Wordsworth: spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Right? Here, the e-poetry, something different. Here, we talk about algorithm, coding, frequency, photo, many more. We are not talking about the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling. No, not at all. Modern age, digital age. E-poets think through the process of the digital medium. So here, they think through the process of digital medium, not like the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling. And Alexander Flores created the e-poetry website as a hub for e-poets to come together, post their work, and to view and give feedback on works done by others. So you can visit that page, you can create your own poetry, or you can read the poetry and you can give your critical views. Right? For that, he created a platform. As technology updates and innovates itself with new additions of hardware, software, programming, e-poetry adapts quickly to these technological advances as well. So it means that only those who fond of the new advancement, technological advancement, whether it is hardware or software, for those people who explore themselves into this technological world, can create, can enjoy, can review the digital literature. Let's see the description of some possible characteristic of electronic literature. Many forms have more than one of these characteristics. Before that, we just want to understand what is this electronic literature explained so far.
We have something called electronic literature, and it uses the computer or the computational processes of a computer more fully. You as a reader can move in lots of different ways, then things get more interesting. Instead of the metaphor for page turning that you'd find in an iPad, a Kindle, or an e-reader, here we get more cinematic transitions. This layering that happens in time that looks a little bit more like net art. One work of electronic literature comes to us from Young-Hae Chang Heavy Industries, an artist team from Seoul, Korea, who help us reimagine our relationship to words by flashing single words of text in different languages combined with music. So part of the project of electronic literature is to say, here are technological processes that we're familiar with in other contexts. Can those be harnessed to tell different kinds of stories as well?
Paul. Hi, how are you? I'm so happy to see you after so long.
Yeah.
Oh, things are good. We're in our new apartment now.
If the person's goal, though, is to get you to reflect on your life and your existence, then if those people start to use all the high-tech gizmos, I think we have an opportunity for an enriched culture through technology and not just like more technology. Bells and whistles that are put to use to get us to feel and to sense and to think and to react and most importantly, to contemplate. We have something called electronic literature. Importantly, to contemplate.
We have seen here how the electronic literature explained from the experts. So we can see the description of some of the possible characteristics of electronic literature. Many forms have more than one of these characteristics. Although the characteristics by themselves are not necessarily innovative or typical of the digital medium, the interaction between them often is. Because you know that it's not that only the one category, one characteristic alone will fit into only one. No, it's all collaborative. Even though we say that different traits, we're all collaborative. There is no boundaries. All the boundaries blurs. The first one, non-linearity, interactivity, multimedia, transience, 3D, fusion with other art forms. Actually, all the characteristics are fusion with many other art forms. That when we see, we will come to know that. Non-linearity. What is that non-linearity? As I said earlier, the print literature, the textbooks which we use are linear textbooks. Why these are called linear? The texts are static. So when you read, if you don't understand something, a particular word, you yourself find the meaning of the word. You have to either use dictionary, or you can ask your friend, your peer, or your teacher. But here, non-linearity, hypertext literature. The texts which are marked hotspot. You can click the text. You will get to know the details. We know these technology because everyone is using electronic sources. So we all know about the hypertext technology. That is non-linearity. So non-linearity means that a work cannot or does not have to be read as continuous text, but can be read in various ways. The characteristics is closely linked with interactivity, because the reader usually has to decide how he or she wants to continue reading the text at various points of the text. Hypertext is a closely related technique. Within electronic literature, hypertext literature, and in particular hypertext fiction, is often distinguished as a specific genre. Just like traditional print literature, a lot of hypertext literature, especially novels, are commercial products. This is the case, for example, for a classic Afternoon, a Story, written by Michael Joyce in 1987 and 1990. Published by Eastgate. So this one, we cannot read from the collection of ALO. If you want to read, you have to buy this. So the Eastgate platform. You can see the hypertext fiction, the commercial hypertext fiction. Afternoon Story, Patchwork Girl, Those Trojan Girls, Victory Garden, Off Day, Off Night. So these are some of the commercial hypertext fiction. You can see a lot more. You can buy from this website. The next one is interactivity. What is that? Interactivity means that the reader largely determines how a text is read, which turn a story takes, when the next portion of a work is shown, or whether a particular picture is shown or sound is played. Although this characteristic is often connected to nonlinearity, as we have seen in the last slide, and this with the hypertext fiction, as we have seen in that website, Eastgate, this is definitely not always the case. So interactivity is somewhat like nonlinearity and hypertext fiction. As I already explained, right? All the characteristics, all the traits, even though it looks independent, but it's not independent, interconnected, collaboratively connected. Multimedia. We all know multimedia. What is multimedia? When you see the picture, we'll come to know what is multimedia. If a text is combined with images, sound, animations, and a video, we call this multimedia. This is an important feature of electronic literature. Right? So that, for that's the reason I mentioned initially that we have to understand the behavior of the text so that we can involve ourselves into this electronic literature. The another important one, transience. You know the meaning of the word, right? Ephemeral or temporary. Some electronic literature is not permanent, but ephemeral and temporary, because it takes a different shape every time it is viewed and cannot be stored in a single fixed form. This characteristic is related to mobility and variability. As I mentioned above in the previous slides, it has its own aspects. In this genre, computer-generated poetry, a text is produced based on pre-programmed instruction and a certain basic vocabulary. So this process, which does not lead to a fixed result, unfolds during the act of reading and can sometimes also be directed by reader's instructions. We all know what is 3D, and even the smart TVs has the facility of 3D. Three-dimensional. Of course, some works use the third dimension to present and manipulate text. Computer displays are limited when it comes to 3D presentation. But a major development in this field is scale. That is a technology introduced to enjoy the three-dimensional technique, three-dimensional literary work. A major development in this field is Cave, a space equipped with screens on which computer-generated images are projected, together with the special glasses that cave users have to wear. This creates the impression that the images emanate from the walls in 3D. We can see this 3D work. I haven't shown any examples for non-linearity, interactivity, multimedia, but I just want to show this 3D because when you see this one, as I said earlier, all the traits combined together, you will enjoy this. You can see that whatever the characteristics of electronic literature I have described so far, you will get to know from this one example. Right? So here we have to go by version 1. And then for this, to view this, to read this, to involve yourself into this, you need to have Adobe Flash. When you click the first one, it will go like that. Okay, you have to read these directions first, right? So you can read on yourself. Now I just want to take you to the other parts. Okay, I'll just click this one. You can see here, pull and turn, and pull and turn, and pull and turn. So I just pull and turn. So here you can see that. You can read, right? You can pull and turn. So you can see here something where they arrive. If you click this, one more thing opens. would have seen here, the color changes, right? So you can see here, it says that these three glitters make sick the viral lives. Comment. The next. You can see the three-dimensional view. The problem with us, as I said earlier, that we are digital immigrants, right? Wondering these technology, we lost ourselves into this technology, we forgot ourselves, and we don't read. We don't, involve ourselves into the literary part of this literature. Maybe it may take some time for us to use this technology as well as to focus ourselves in the literary of this technology, right? Can go to the next one. So here also there is something. This is hypertext. So if I click this, another one opens. Everything upward begins, and this does not has been happy. Comment, right? Then we go to the next page. Again here, one more hyperlink. The first octave kept in the desk below half essays and numbers for future. Right? Sorry. So here, You can see, so here, I think this book we have seen. There are many more books. You can click one, it will open the other book, and you can see this. Right? Because of this, you can move to that next page. It is image. You can see people are moving. There we have seen stage 2, here stage 3. Without music. Week 3. There we have seen week 2, right? So when you click each, you will get to know the sound. Something seems so common. Again, something seems. Okay. We'll move on to the next. You can try all those things. You don't know, sometimes even the images have the hyperlink. Makes cows sleep. Right? Henry Lewis referred to paranoid software. Right? So again, you can move on to that next. Because of this, I couldn't, move on to that next. So here, there are many books. So when you open, you will come to know that book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, like that. So every book has certain elements. You have to involve yourself with the text, with the behavior of the text, so that you could enjoy. Right? So you can try this on your own and enjoy this literature. Other art forms. As I said, you don't understand, after seeing that 3D book, you would have seen the various traits, various characteristics. So far, I explained in one work itself, you could understand, right? A fusion of electronic literature with other digital art forms, such as the visual arts, film, music, computer games, in such a way that the dividing line between the one art form and the other one blurs. That's what I said. We can see the characteristics each as a separate trait, even though there is no boundary line. So you have to understand there are certain traits There are certain characteristics of this particular electronic literature, but we cannot define, we cannot put a boundary line for each trait because it is interconnected. So, why do we teach electronic literature? First of all, why do we read electronic literature? You know, this is an evolving literature, so we enjoy ourselves reading this electronic literature. Right. Why do we teach electronic literature? Because it is an emerging field of literary creativity. This genre, this electronic literature offers an unparalleled richness of cross-field pollinations. As we can see already, the literature is not the literature as we have studied in 90s or 80s, right? The contemporary literature is now post-colonial literature. World literature, even though initially the literature, the very word literature denotes major part of British literature because of the language, the native people. But now, almost every country producing literary works in English. So, literature has no boundaries. We can call it world literature. So here, in this electronic literature, it is an emerging field. It combined many disciplines into one, many literary effects into one, such as games, graphic design, sound design, generative coding, animation, moving images, and a plethora of possible interfaces, including sight, sound, touch, gesture, even breathing. So, you might have think, why the literary people? Why they have to involve with this digital world? Because we all know the world is slowly getting digitalized. So, the literature. We have to embrace this infant literature. We have to play with this newborn literature so that we can enjoy and then we can pave way to the future generation. As an emerging field of literary creativity, electronic literature offers an unparalleled richness of cross-field pollination. Combining literary effects with games, graphic design, sound design, generative coding, animation, moving images, and a plethora of possible interfaces, including sight, sound, touch, gesture, even breathing. Skipping over the usual gatekeepers of print literature, electronic literature offers multiple opportunities for collaborative and web publishing with blogs, journals, websites, and collections devoted to it. Moreover, for millennials, who are they? We ourselves, millennials, accustomed to interacting with screens, electronic literature may seem more familiar and enticing than traditional literature, the traditional print literature. The traditional print literature actually widen our imagination. But this electronic literature widen our eyes. Manifesting in the electronic environments of cell phones, tablets, and computers. While much of what is on the web short circuits critical inquiry in favor of conspiracy theories, rumor, and misleading or unsubstantiated claims. Electronic literature uses the historical resource of literature such as satire, parody, exaggeration, and narrative to nourish critical thoughts and strengthen close reading skills. So, like our print literature, this electronic literature also has the similar qualities such as satire, parody, exaggeration, narrative technique, everything. So these things strengthen the reading skills. How? Let's see the video between page and screen. We would understand the innovative style of literature evolving in our digital age. Between page and screen, how the digital pop-up book, when you open the digital pop-up book, how could you enjoy yourself? Let's see here. So, you don't understand. There is a book. You have to hold the book in front of the computer screen. The screen will read the code and you will get the words on your screen. That is, between page and screen. A different kind of reading, different kind of experience you would enjoy. That is the innovative style of literature evolving in our digital age. Expand your aperture, augment your reality. Electronic literature breathes new life into the perennial question, what is literature? By moving beyond words to sound, graphic, gestures, and spatial complexity in literary forms. For example, in hypertext, with multiple networks of links, or in augmented or immersive virtual reality literary text. It offers opportunities to foster cross-disciplinary literacies in the classroom, challenging students to understand how different modalities such as sight, sound, color, form, animation, and gesture work together to create powerful new kind of aesthetic experiences. So, with the above mentioned characteristics and genres, it is understood that this electronic literature is an emerging field of literature for our future generation literary field. With this note, I end today's session. So, as you know that this is 5-day program, so you can prepare articles based on your observation of this emerging field of literature, electronic literature. So observe the 5-day program carefully and prepare research articles based on your interest of the genre. The research article should include the characteristic of EL, that is electronic literature, or the various genres of electronic literature, the evolution of digital age, the influence of electronic literature to print literature, the possible ways to include electronic literature into syllabi, the various methods to teach this electronic literature. Or you can do the various methods to understand, to collaborate with the present theories, the various techniques which involve to understand this electronic literature, and anticipated problems of teaching this literature or this digital native, and so on. There are many more topics available to write a research or review paper. So you can work on it. After this 5-day program, you will be given almost 2 weeks of time. On 25th of this month, you can send your research article to the given mail ID, only one day. On that day, so you can take your time, prepare yourself, prepare a worthy article, and you can send that article on that particular day, that is 25th of this month, to the given mail ID, so that our organizer may publish your articles. And I have given here the references, the links which I have taken for this entire 5-day program. So You will get to know after this 5 days program. When you get the PPT, you can browse yourself and you can enjoy yourself reading this electronic literature. With this note, I can say thank you and bye now. So if you have any questions, you are allowed to ask your questions.